Hi, I'm Krutika, and today's conversation is with Sofia, my youngest guest yet. At just 16, her age may be young, but the obstacles she has overcome tell a story of remarkable strength. Battling topical steroid withdrawal, TSW, Sofia endured not only the physical toll of this debilitating skin condition, but also the emotional struggles that come with it, all whilst navigating being a teenager. And let's be real, our skin is the most visible part of us, and when it doesn't look or feel normal, it can shake our confidence and our sense of self. Sofia bravely shares her struggles, the setbacks, and the hope she found along the way. Her journey is raw, honest, and deeply moving, and I'm sure this one will stay with you long after you've listened. Hi Sofia, it's so lovely to have you on my podcast today. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been such a nice weekend. I don't know about where you are, Sofia, but where I am, it's been really nice and bright. Has it been bright for you?
Yeah, it's been so nice and sunny. I've just sort of been in my back garden and things, just trying to get some sun on my face and stuff.
Got to top up with the vitamin D when the sun
Yeah.
comes out in the UK. Now, our conversation today is all about your journey with TSW, which is topical steroid withdrawal. But I'm so conscious that so many of us, and I'll include myself in that bracket as well, we're not too familiar with what that condition actually is. As part of this research for this conversation, I did Google around to just get a bit of an understanding. But for those that might not be familiar, could you explain what TSW is?
Yeah, so for me, I see TSW sort of as a condition which is caused by prolonged use of steroids or discontinuing the use of them. And for some, I think TSW can occur whilst you're still using steroid creams, as they're not really working for your skin anymore. And this is the case for me, people might not realise this and just think that it's the eczema getting worse. And I think that TSW differs from eczema as you experience symptoms that are just way worse than the original skin condition that you previously had. And I think some things that make you notice that are red skin, which some refer to as red skin syndrome, and extreme dryness, itchiness, a lot of flakiness, and problems with temperature I found for myself, like temperature regulations, and a lot of people as well who I've sort of connected with through social media have found that insomnia is a big thing to do with it as well. And a lot of people just struggle with sleeping just because of how exhausted the body is.
Gosh, that sounds like quite a thing to deal with. I just want to circle back to something you said. So you referenced eczema there, and just so I've understood it clearly, is it that you had a condition like eczema which resulted in you using a steroid, but then prolonged use of it is what then triggers the TSW?
Yeah, so I've been using steroid creams for a couple of years, and I think that's what sort of caused my TSW, because I don't think it should be used for that such long of a time, because that's quite a long time to be using creams like that.
So have you always suffered from eczema?
I had a bit of it when I was a baby, but it was nothing major, and it sort of stopped for a while. And then I'd say a bit towards the end of primary school and beginning of secondary school, I noticed there were some patches on my hands and things, but again, it was nothing major. It didn't affect my daily life. It was just a bit itchy, but it just started to get worse when I was getting prescribed steroid creams, and I think that's just sort of when I noticed something wasn't quite right.
How young were you when you were prescribed the steroid cream?
I think I was around 14. And I'm now 16, so it's been a couple of years.
So did you notice that when you started using the steroid cream initially, that it was helping you with the management of your eczema?
Yeah, I just had like small patches of it, so I just apply it like they told me to, and it would go away. But after a while, it would sort of come back. It didn't seem like it was resolving the cause of it, so it wasn't really helping me.
I've heard that steroid creams actually don't necessarily cure the condition, that they're almost there to help kind of manage the symptoms of having eczema. So,
Yeah.
reducing the redness, for example. So were you doing anything else to help manage your eczema during that time? Were the doctors prescribing you anything else, or was this the only solution that you were given?
For me, that was sort of the only solution I was given. They did give me moisturisers, but that didn't clear anything up. It just sort of helped moisturise my skin, which I don't think that was the main problem.
And did you know what the potency of the steroid cream that you were using was? I simply asked because ahead of the conversation with yourself, when I'd Googled around, there was something that was mentioned on the National Eczema Society website that spoke about different potencies of steroids and that having an implication on how addictive they could be.
All I sort of knew, there were different names for the different steroid creams, and each one was a different strength of steroid. I wasn't really told anything else about it.
And did they also tell you how often to use it, or that you should perhaps stop after a certain period? Was any of that mentioned?
Yeah, so the instructions were just put the steroid cream on the affected areas for about a week, and then you should come off it, because they always told me, steroid creams are not supposed to be used longer than 2 weeks, which is true. But the thing is, once them 2 weeks were over, the eczema would just come back.
And so was it yourself feeling compelled to want to purchase more steroid creams from a pharmacy, for example? Or was it that you were revisiting the doctor and the doctor just kept prescribing you more steroid creams?
I was getting them prescribed by my GP, but my skin seemed to be worsening and spreading to places that I haven't had eczema before. So I was referred to a dermatologist, and I was just still getting prescribed stronger steroid creams, heavier ointments, but my skin was still getting worse. And then towards the summer holidays of last year, I was prescribed a 6-week course of oral steroids, and this was just a couple of months before the summer holidays. And I remember, I think it was the last week of school, so the last week of year 10, and I just finished the course of the tablets, and that week I just felt really off. I just didn't feel right at all. My skin just felt so uncomfortable and red and itchy, but it just felt different to all the other times that I've had eczema. It came to a point where it was the last day of school, and my friends were making plans for going out after school because, obviously you want to celebrate. But I just said to them, you know what, I can't go. My skin's just so bad and I'm in so much discomfort, and I just went straight home after that day of school. Ever since then, and during the summer holidays, I was just in the house. I didn't really go out at all because it was that bad.
I'm so sorry to hear, Sophia, that you had to go through that. I mean, as someone that has had acne as a teenager, and I know that's definitely not comparable, I'm just thinking about how I felt as a teenager when I had acne, and, my skin would sometimes look very red, and I've always been very conscious about that. And when you're that young and having to deal with something that's related to your skin, the organ of your body that's most visible to everyone, it can be a real knock to your confidence. I mean, can you just walk us through how you were sort of feeling emotionally at that point and mentally as well?
It was just really challenging, and the emotional side of TSW is quite hard, as a lot of people don't often fully understand how difficult it can be and how it just affects you on a daily basis. In the summer holidays, because I was just stuck in the house, I couldn't really go out. I stopped seeing my friends, and I didn't want anybody to see me because I was so insecure and self-conscious of how I looked. I was just red everywhere. My skin was so dry and flaking off me. I just felt very different to everyone else, and I think that affected me a lot. I did manage to keep in touch with my friends, but it's not the same as going out with them, being able to do stuff.
So, did your friends know what you were going through at this point, and did they understand the place that you were coming from? Because obviously you mentioned the redness across your face, they're making their social plans, it's the summer, you want to go and do things with them, but you don't feel comfortable and confident enough to. Did your friends understand that?
I think they did. They always tried to get me out of the house, but not in a forceful way. They just wanted me to enjoy myself, and they wanted to have a nice time with me and just to make me feel better. But because I was in so much discomfort, I didn't really want to. But they were understanding that I do want to stay in the house because that's where it's more comfortable for me to be at. During the summer holidays, I didn't really know that I had TSW. I was doing research and I knew of it, but I think I was in denial for a long time. I knew how awful it was and all the things that actually come with it. My friends knew for a while that I've had eczema, but it was controllable until the summer holidays as I came off them tablets. But myself, I thought it was just my eczema getting worse, and I think a lot of people who now realise they have TSW, they did think it was just eczema that was really bad, but that's not really the case.
So did you have to get a formal diagnosis from the doctor to confirm that it was TSW?
I didn't get an official diagnosis of TSW because a lot of dermatologists don't believe in it or recognise that it's a thing. But in the summer holidays, I had a trip booked with my mom to go see family in Slovakia, and my skin just seemed to be getting worse whilst I was there. So we went to A&E, and 2 doctors sat me down there and they said to me, it does look like you have symptoms of TSW. But as soon as I came back to the UK and I had a dermatology appointment, and although I explained to them I think it could be TSW, they just said you need to put on steroid creams because of how bad it is. So I trusted their advice and what they said, and that's what I did. So since summer, I've used steroid creams a couple of times, but I've officially stopped in November 2024.
It's interesting you mentioned that the doctors dismissed it as TSW in the UK, because I remember reading something on the National Eczema Society website that did mention something to that effect, that many doctors claim for it to be a rare condition, but actually the hashtag TSW has had over 1 billion views on TikTok. Now, obviously, that's not unique views, but that tells me there are a lot of people researching the condition, and maybe it seems like it's one of those conditions that people don't talk about as much. Do you feel that that is the case?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like recently a lot of people are now discovering that they're having TSW. So more people are coming out and speaking out about it. And especially now because of social media, we're able to research things more easily. And that's sort of how I found out myself I had TSW. I was just trying to research things that could help my eczema. I was putting my symptoms into Google, and all that was sort of coming back to me was things about TSW, and that's when I started to connect all the things together and realise that this is what I have, because people can be really confused sometimes. Is it just my eczema getting worse?
Yeah. Now, I know earlier you mentioned some of the kind of experiences you had with the red skin, the burning sensation. If you could describe what your body went through during the worst stages, how would you describe that?
I think being uncomfortable every single day and not being able to escape it. And I just remember every single morning waking up and my skin was just so flaky and there was nothing I could really do. If I put on creams, then it would just make it more red and irritated, and if you were to scratch yourself too much, you just had cuts everywhere. And the shower, I think, for many people with TSW is almost like a fear, because the amount of pain you get from going into a shower and having so many cuts on your body, it's such a pain that it's hard to describe. And I think it just affects everything in the day-to-day life because it affects your whole body. So there's no way of really escaping it.
Sounds absolutely awful, Sophia. I mean, would you say you're over the worst of it, or are you still managing and dealing with some of these symptoms?
For me, I think I am over the worst of it. I think the summer holidays for me was the beginning of TSW, although I didn't really know it. And that's when I experienced the red syndrome, my whole body just being extremely red and itchy. My skin, it just felt so warm and it was just painful. That is the worst stage for many people.
And what were the sort of support mechanisms you relied on to get you through this really difficult time?
I think just being around people who, even though they don't have it, they are able to understand where I'm coming from and they're able to acknowledge the pain that I go through. And I think the people who you surround yourself in situations like this is what gets you through it, because I know for me, I wouldn't have been able to get through this without my mom. Like, she has been my number one supporter and she's seen me with this condition every single day. There's not a day, she hasn't been here to support me or help me, and she's done everything she can, to just try and make it as comfortable for me as possible.
It's great that you do have your mum giving you that support that you need. I can only imagine that during this tough time, it must have taken a toll on your mental health as well. Could you talk to us a little bit about how this has affected your mental health?
I think the fact that you can't escape it affects you because you have to wait it out and there's not much you can do to help yourself. And I think it just all collects inside your head and it just makes it so much worse because you're already going through enough physically with your body, and to also go through things mentally because of it, it just makes the whole experience so much worse. You don't really feel like a normal person, you just feel very different because a lot of the time you're just stuck inside, and that doesn't help either because you're not being surrounded by the world or you're not distracting yourself by normal day-to-day activities. That has a big impact on mental health.
Did you have to take time off school?
The dermatologist did prescribe me steroid creams and that was helping me go back to school when it started again in September. But I was hardly managing, to be honest. Just every single day in school was painful and I was just sat there in classes and I was in so much discomfort. I wasn't learning anything, and especially because of TSW, it can give people really bad sleep. And although I was still using the steroid creams, my sleep was still affected a lot. So in some lessons, I was just sat there dozing off to sleep because I was so exhausted and my body was under so much stress. So in the October holidays, I just decided I can't keep doing this cycle of using steroid creams just so I can go to school, because then I'm never going to be comfortable and it's just gonna make the whole experience so much worse. I just decided, from November I'm gonna take myself off of them steroid creams, but that did result me to not being able to go to school. I've been off school now for around 4 months, which I think has affected my studies, but I'm grateful that I can take the time off to fully heal, as I know that's what my body needs. And I'm thankful that my school has been really supportive throughout all of this. They even said to me, we wouldn't expect you to come in with the way that you are right now, but they did say you can come back whenever you feel ready. And the teachers at school as well have also been quite supportive and sending me work. My plan is to go to college after year 11 ends, because now that I am feeling a bit better, I'm hoping these past couple of months until exams start I can just spend revising, especially because of the time that I have at home now.
And have you been able to keep in touch with some of your friends during this period of not being in school?
Yeah, I'm so grateful that sort of social media exists now, because it would be so difficult to keep in touch with them if it didn't. And I've been able to call them the past couple of weeks. I've started going on walks with a couple of my friends, which for some people that might not seem like a big thing, but when you're actually going through this, even that can just seem like a really big step, and it is for me.
Sophie, if you don't mind me asking a slightly personal question, through this process, have you been assigned a guidance counsellor or a therapist to help you deal with the mental challenges that come with dealing with something like TSW?
At the beginning of this year, when I had a dermatologist appointment, my mum did say to the dermatologist that she would like them to refer me to some sort of mental health place, because I was at a really low point and every day was just a struggle and I wasn't coping with it very well. A couple of weeks ago, we did have an online call with somebody, but I recently started to feel better and I've been able to find different stuff that's helping me cope. They said if you are feeling better, then we can leave it for now, and if you do have like a dip or something and you decide you do need the extra help, then just give us a message and we will organise something again for you.
I'm so happy to hear that you're feeling better in yourself, and actually you spoke about things that you're doing to make you feel better. So can I just ask, what are the sort of lifestyle changes or things or treatments that you're doing that have helped you get to this position?
I think I am on my way to healing, and there's different stuff that I've done to help me do that. Some of the small things which I've done, and I know a lot of other people do, is just taking supplements to help your body have them extra vitamins and stuff that you need. And about a month ago, I started to do red light therapy, which I think is working really well for me and my skin, and it's been reducing flakes on my face. And also, since stopping the use of steroid creams in November, I have decided to do no moisture treatment, which I think has helped my skin to improve a lot and gain some of its own moisture back. And during doing no moisture treatment, I had a good couple of weeks where my skin just completely flaked off. I could see there was new skin behind all that dead skin that was coming through. It's way better than what my skin was like before.
These therapies are actually very new to me, so I'm just going to ask you, what is red light therapy?
So red light therapy is like this panel. You can get it in different sizes depending on what your budget is, but they can be very expensive, so this is why a lot of people don't do it, as especially with this condition, people do have to take time off work. It means people have less of a budget to spend on things, but it really helps to sort of generate sort of your skin cells and things to provide healthier ones.
And you mentioned the no moisture treatment as well. Could you tell us a little bit about what that involves?
Yes, so I have a little paragraph which is from a website which is really good, and it explained what the no moisture treatment is, and there's a paragraph which summarises it really well. It says that no moisture treatment targets people experiencing TSW, a condition caused by discontinuation of steroid creams after prolonged use, and no moisture treatment advocates for the complete avoidance of moisturizers and reduced water exposure, which encourages the skin to restore its natural barrier functions and cortisol production, which might be disrupted by the long-term use of steroids. For the no moisture treatment, it might not be for everyone, and they do recommend that if it is something you want to try, you should seek medical advice first, because it can be very painful and something stressful on the body. So some people just find that moisturising helps them get through TSW daily, which is completely fine. So doing whatever makes you comfortable is best.
Thank you for sharing that, Sophia. Just to sort of wrap up, I mean, I feel there seems to be a bit of a misunderstanding with TSW. What do you wish that people, and you alluded to this earlier, that even doctors don't always diagnose this, what do you wish, people knew more about with this condition?
I wish the doctors would recognise the condition more, as it's very discouraging when you go for an appointment and you're sat there trying to explain what you think is wrong with you and how it's affecting you, and they just don't believe you, and it makes you feel very misheard. You're just sort of alone and there's not much support around you to help you.
And what advice would you give to anyone that's listening to this or knows someone that's struggling with TSW or is struggling for themselves with this condition?
I'd say just keep going. Every day is challenging, and there are going to be times where you're going to want to give up and, just be done with it. But you just have to try battle through it, because at the end of the day, when you come out of the condition, and you will, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You will be so much of a stronger person, and you'll be able to deal with things so much better. And for me, I've already found, even though I'm not fully healed, I'm so grateful now for the small things in life which I just took for granted before. And I think this condition really does make you realise how important everything is and how to be grateful for it. So if you are struggling with the condition right now, I'm so sorry, and I hope things really do get better for you soon. But trust me, they will. Your body is your biggest supporter, and it will help you fight through this. It just takes time.
How well said, Sophia, and so brave, and such wonderful words of encouragement. I'm hoping those that are listening will take comfort from that, especially if they're struggling with something very similar. Now, with all my guests, I end with one final question, and that is, what journey are you on right now?
I'm hoping, and I think I am on the way to healing, and I'm so grateful that I am feeling better. But the journey that I have had with this condition, it's been a very big one. I'm hoping I've given my body time to sort of heal, and I'm doing things to help it. I hope I'm on the journey to recovery.
Sophia, thank you so much for bravely sharing your journey. It's been an absolute pleasure having you speak with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Journeys with Krutika. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and share. I'd love for you to hit the follow button wherever you get your podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you have a journey that you want to share, email me at journeyswithkrutika@gmail.com, or just reach out via my socials. I'm on Instagram and TikTok. Just search Journeys with Krutika, because your journey is unique.